So Gifts of the Spirit Church was founded 45 years ago today by Reverend Carl Hewitt. He went in 1954, he went to the place where I told you about, where he saw a spirit person. And this is what he was taught about. Here is where the building that he used to own, where the church was, down in the basement. And here is Carl's early days of mediumship, where this was at Lilydale, where he was giving messages. And of course, this famous picture of him with the statue of Chief Lone Eagle. This is a portrait that an artist saw by remote viewing. This portrait was done by a woman who had a vision of Carl, and he was doing a public demonstration, and she screamed when she saw him, and eventually gave him this picture because it looked 100% just like him. This book is The Psychic Stream, which turned out to be a very important book for Carl to teach us about how religions put psychic phenomena in underground. And it was given to him by Reverend Bingham, who was in England, and a medium came up to him and said, "Do you know Carl Hewitt?" And he said, "No." And he says, "He lives in Connecticut. Could you take this book to him?" And that's how he met. And it was through Bingham, who encouraged Carl to become a minister, that he became a minister, and we have a church today. And this was Carl's ordination on June 2nd, 1974. Again, other pictures. He held a psychic pathway seminar on October 29th, 1977, where this picture came through. If you can see right around here, there's a bubble of energy around this trance medium. This medium is going into trance to speak to the people, and this picture was captured showing the energy. And these are some of the church members who were present that day. Carl did a lot of TV interviews. He took a group of people to the studios that time. This interview had to do with those two mediums for this seminar. Here we have the Sunday services. You can see how packed the basement was at times. And Carl, you can see the energy, his personality showing through so well. This lady is Polly Conley. She used to be called the mother of the church. She was a very close friend of Carl's. We were getting membership certificates, and this is me getting my membership certificate. In March of '78, Carl had his first encounter with Awan. And it was several years later until I was brought into the picture. I did start attending psychic development classes around 1976. We had a class on Halloween night, so we decided to put masks on. Carl was upstairs. He came downstairs, and he was not happy with us because he thought we were mocking the spirit world. But we did it again the next year. And again, Carl returned from a tour here, and the women of the church used to bake these fantastic cakes for us. This is our second anniversary. These mediums, Letta and Don Williamson, came to visit. We had a dinner dance, and there was a dinner dance apparently for the third one. And this is one of the old newsletters that was created. Pictures of an Easter service of 1981. This is Leonard DeFresney. He was the one. Remember, I said that the first service took place upstairs in the kitchen because the basement hadn't been renovated. And Carl went down south, and Lenny lent the church $10,000, and a bunch of the church people went through and painted and put carpeting in and got chairs and everything else. They had to build a staircase on the outside of the building for egress. And they accomplished all that. And so Carl came home, and he saw the building was changed. He knew nothing about this. It was a total surprise to him. But Lenny was the one who helped finance this, and the church eventually paid him back. So here was a Christmas fair that we had down in the basement many years ago. Christmas party of 1981. The church members made this quilt for Carl. He always treasured this quilt. And you'll see in the pictures of his funeral, we had hung the quilt up. And again, this is we celebrated Carl's birthday, cake. And then we come to 1984, the golden thread. For those of you who may not know, the golden thread was a 10-hour slide presentation that Carl and I put together. It took us 7.5 years to write the script to teach about mediumship in the Bible. Such things as the Ten Commandments coming through the trumpet mediumship. Carl's famous talking about the reading at the well. He used to hold this pot and talk about the fact that the woman handed this to Jesus. Jesus held the pot, and through psychometry, he could tell everything about her life, and that is why she ended up saying to him, "I perceive you are a prophet." And this is a plaque the church gave us at the end of the presentation. We were receiving that, and these are some of the cakes that were done for the church. Here we come to the 10th anniversary of Gifts of the Spirit Church. Carl had built a little garden outside and he was dedicating it. And then we had a healing service, and you can see the middle person here is Susan giving healing. This person here was Robert Quinn, who has since gone to the world of spirit. But Robert, as I was sitting in the power before this presentation, Robert showed up along with someone else that we'll talk about in a minute. And this was the cake we had at that time, the socialization afterwards. Some of these people I saw also before the service. In 1999, we received this precipitated picture of Jesus. And then Carl was told that Jesus had talked to Carl on a very regular basis. Now, I want you to take a look at Jesus and what he's wearing. Notice that he's wearing a red top and like a green mantle. I think it was August that we were in Chesterfield and we received this picture. The June before that, a couple of months before that, there was a statue of Jesus in the church that had fallen and broke. It was a cement statue. And one of the church members, Marcy, took it home. She cemented it together and decided to paint it. Without any consultation, this is how she painted it, with same colors as the picture. And no one told her. She was just inspired. You know, this is what we're talking about, how spirit can put thoughts into your mind to carry things out. And this is an example of it. This was the way it originally looked, the green, and this is the way she painted it, which looks quite similar to what was done by spirit. A1 started talking to me through Carl, and eventually in the year January 2000, we published the first book, My First Encounter with an Angel. In 2000 that we went to Chesterfield. The Jesus picture came through in 1999. 2000, 22 people from Gifts of the Spirit Church traveled to Camp Chesterfield, and we went to a whole bunch of precipitated art seances. We had a party afterwards, and so forth. And at Camp Chesterfield is a head art gallery where these Bang sisters precipitated portraits are done. These are very famous pictures. If you go online, you can look up Bang sisters, and their pictures have been professionally photographed now and digitized, and they're available on the internet. They can't determine how they were created, how the artwork was done. Then Carl was written up in Healing Spirits. Well, he mentioned he had me come along, but it was mostly about Carl being a healer and some of the spectacular healings that came through him. In 2001, February 2001, I was ordained as a minister for Gifts of the Spirit Church. And Carl was always open to traveling to places to bring back information. He went to Egypt. We went to Delphi, where the oracle was. Here we both are in Delphi, in Mexico, at the different pyramids. In Turkey, as you know, we went to Turkey to get validation for the crossover book. Now, the church logo was designed in 1978. The way it was pictured, you can see the sun bursting out into rays coming through. While we were in Greece in a hotel, it was off season. We were on the seaside by Corinth Bay, and there was the church logo in the sky, which really blew us away. And the thing that was so mind-boggling that it took me over a week to process, that when St. Paul said, "I will not have you ignorant of the gifts of the Spirit," which is what Carl used to quote all the time and ended up being on his tombstone. He was talking to the Corinthians, which were right there because that was the Bay of Corinth. It was a full circle moment to have that show up in the sky. A church picnic in 2001. Around 2002, I think we began doing local cable TV shows called Making Known the Unknown. We did about 96 of them altogether. You can watch them on the website. There's links to them because they're all stored on YouTube now. This was one of the logos that we used. Carl holding on to that famous jug of the woman giving the reading at the well. And here we are talking. So we now come to the 25th anniversary of Gifts of the Spirit Church. We had a surprise testimonial dinner for Carl, not a dinner because it was a picnic, excuse me. And so there were lots of speeches. Carl was really very moved by the whole experience. Here again, it was very well attended. And then we come to the last service in the Hewitt building on June 9th, 2002, because Carl decided he was moving down south, closed the church for a number of years. Here we have Carol Chappell, who is our chairperson for the trance work. So here are things that happened in Charleston. Carl did a seminar. Unfortunately, it wasn't too well attended in those days. Then I finally opened our website in 2005. And then on January 26, 2005, Carl passed to the spirit world. So here's pictures from Carl's funeral. You can see behind the casket is that quilt that was made for him. We had all kinds of signs and things, and his favorite posters up. We have on the right-hand side, you can see the big post blow up of Jesus's card. Here's his portrait, Jesus's card, Chief Malone Eagle, the picture of the statue of Jesus that was painted in the right colors. All the things that were important to him we brought there. And this is me giving his eulogy. The people in Connecticut wanted to have a service, so we had a memorial service on February 12th. So these are some pictures from that. This was his grave marker. I was talking to Ria today, and Jim Simmerock showed up and said he wanted to be remembered. Jim was a person who was a natural clairaudient and clairvoyant. So he could see spirit. And when it came time to pick this marker, I knew exactly what to write. That was no problem. I didn't know which one to pick out. So I told Jim, I said, you tell Carl to tell me which one he wants. Because I had an experience a couple of weeks before where I did something that Carl didn't like. He woke me up 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want him to wake me up again, saying I picked the wrong one. In May of 2005, our second book was published a few months after Carl transitioned, which was Crossovers, The Origin of Homosexuality, which was the information that A1 gave. I was at the Prophets Conference, which was held by Jay-Z Knight, and I got to speak with her. And of course, he played a interesting part in her life too. So it was interesting for us to talk. In 2006, I went to the Arthur Findlay College for the first time. And then the church bought a bench with a plaque dedicated to Carl there, because it is such a center of mediumship that I felt, it was appropriate to have him remembered there. So on September 10th, 2006, I reopened the church. Here are some pictures of people who attended, and we started meeting at the Chesterfield Firehouse, which was across the street from the center that Carl owned. And then we had our 30th anniversary in that firehouse, people who were there. And this was the mug for our 30th anniversary. Val Williams who's a really excellent British medium. She paints people back to life. She came to our church. This was during a question and answer sessions that we had. In April of 2010, I opened a branch of the Gifts of the Spirit Church in New Jersey. So we were having two churches at one point, teaching people about the gifts of the Spirit. And that lasted for about 9 years or so. Our third book was published in 2013, A Second Encounter with an Angel. Ria, who came to the New Jersey church to demonstrate the psychic art. And the fourth book was on 2014. Sandra Redman, who was a medium who lived in New York City, came to visit us in 2014. Here we are in the Salem Library when we were meeting there. She decided to move back to London. Next book was published in 2015, The Third Encounter with an Angel, which completed the trilogy. And it took about almost 20 years for all those books to be put together. The Golden Thread, that slide presentation that we did, I reformatted it into a book. Another book came through, What Did Moses See at the Burning Bush? And then we come to the 40th anniversary. Kevin Lee, Susan St. Jean, Ria, and myself demonstrated. This is how it was set up. The mediums. We had some workshops where people were working. There's Carol, here you are, with some of Susan St. Jean's friends, and the cake for the 40th anniversary. Then we came to the Medium's Diary, the book about Carl's life. It was published in 2018. Then COVID hit, and we have been on Zoom. Here's a group of us at one of our Zoom meetings. And here we are today, celebrating our 45th anniversary. So what's going to happen in our future? Well, Saturday, we're having Teresa and Ria coming to give messages. And sometime in the future, when things are ready, this is a cover for the new book, Resurrecting the Evidence. So that is our walk down memory lane.